Welcome back everyone. In today's lesson, we're going to cover a really cool topic, which is how to turn drawish looking positions into wins. And now a lot of us fear equal positions. We find them bland and boring. I'm here to show you that there's a three-step process outlined on the right-hand side there that we're going to walk through that is going to dramatically increase your win rate from these types of positions. And so my hope by the end of this video is you'll be able to apply this three-step process in your games and no longer fear equal positions, maybe even welcome them, because you're going to now know something that your opponents don't know, and that's going to give you the edge in the game. So let's get into it. We're going to use this game as an example to illustrate the three-step process. We're going to start from this position in the first part of the video. We're going to cover how to win using the three steps. And then we're just going to go back a little bit and see how we got to this position in the first place. So let's crack into it. The very first thing we'll notice in this game is white might think it's an equal position, black might think it's an equal position. Each side has equal material. 3 on the king side, 3 pawns on the king side, 2 on the queen side, and a rook and a queen each. But there are a couple of nuances in this position that an advanced chess player with a trained eye will notice right away. So keep these notes in mind because they will apply to your games. The first one is white has an escape square for the king, so it does not have back rank issues. So white's not going to fear a queen dropping in or a rook dropping in and checkmating him. Likewise, or rather, on the other hand, black has back rank issues. So black always has to watch out for something like queen to d8, which is going to be checkmate, or can be checkmate. And so that's one subtlety. The other subtlety is the fact that white's pawn is not on a3 or a2, but it's all the way up the board on a6. And now this can be both a weakness because, it's just a pawn just hanging out by itself. It can easily be attacked and taken. But as more and more pieces get traded off, this becomes more and more of a strength because we start getting into an endgame, and in endgames we want to essentially try promote our pawns, right? And this pawn is only 2 squares away from becoming another queen, and that's going to win white the game. So let's start with the first step in the process. Now that we sort of know it's an equal position, but there's a couple of nuances that are in white's favor. The first thing we're going to do is identify an infiltration point, an entry point. And this is, if we just sat here and did nothing, just, moved our king back and forth or moved our pieces back and forth, nothing happens. We don't progress our position. So we need to find a way to enter our opponent's position. And a trained eye will see that putting a rook or a queen, but most likely a rook on d7 is going to be super powerful for white. So that is the entry point we have identified for white in this particular position. Every position is going to have a different infiltration point. In some cases, b7 might be the infiltration point, right? But in this case, it's going to be d7. I'll tell you guys right now. The second step of the process is going to be, because we want to get our rook here, and if you picture the rook on d7, you can kind of see it attacks the pawn on a7, which is a weakness, and it attacks the pawn on f7. But to get a rook here, we're probably going to need to trade our queens. And so the second step is we have to find the right sequence of play to trade the right pieces in the correct manner. Like, for instance, we don't want to trade our rooks. We definitely don't want to trade both our rooks and our queens, because what's going to happen is that black king is just going to march up, win this pawn, which is now a weakness, just sitting by itself over here. And then black is going to have 2 pawns versus 1 on the queen side and is going to win the game. So what have we identified? We've identified we want to infiltrate onto d7 and we want to trade queens. The very last step from there is once we have gotten our rook to d7, we are just going to be able to march our king up the board. And let's take a look at how this happens in real life. Once we know all these things, once we've thought through, we can actually identify that white's got a couple of good moves. Queen to d7 is a good move, and queen to d6 is a good move. it's black to move here, black plays queen to f6, and white chooses queen to d6. And what white's essentially doing is saying, I'm attacking your rook, I'm attacking your queen, and if you move your queen to a wrong square, I'm either going to take your rook or I'm going to checkmate you on d8. And that forces a queen trade. So the queens get traded, and now you can kind of see quickly, black must be scratching his head thinking, uh-oh, where have I gone wrong? Because I thought I had an equal game, and now white's just about to infiltrate. So once the white rook gets to d7, that pawn on a7 is toast. So black defends it, and rook to d7 is played nonetheless. Now, just an interesting note here. You know, we said there's two things that are key differences. One is that the white king had an escape square, or rather, the black king didn't, and also white had an advanced pawn on the a file. If we can imagine, let's just say for argument's sake, g6, and then this pawn was back here, black is going to have a little bit more of an easy time, especially a few moves ago, defending, because black will just get an active rook by jumping in with his rook and attacking the pawn on b2, and if there was a pawn on a2. However, black needs to solve that back rank problem, so g6 is played, and black is honestly tied up already here. We're already on step 3 of the process because black is tied up. The king is defending that f7 pawn, the rook is defending this a7 pawn, and white is just free to jump in with the king. And all of this happened in the space of, what is that, 3 or 4 moves. We have got into a position where white is dominating, and after rook to b7, some people might resign right here, even though it looks like it could still be a draw. It's actually completely winning for white. This rook can no longer move anywhere. This king is stuck as well. So let's see how the game continued, just to illustrate the point. King to h2, h5, h4. h4 is always a good move, just locking up the h pawns in an endgame, especially with this type of a structure. It's very solid, just as a general side note. King to e8, king here, and black kind of sees that the king can no longer get any closer because the f pawn's going to hang, and if the f pawn moves, the g pawn can hang. So black notices that, man, I don't have any moves left. So b4 is played, trying to tempt the rook off the 7th rank and maybe get some chances to come out. But white just ignores it. King to f4, king to f8. And here, because the king's slid back away from the queen side, the rook takes the pawn. And now black tries to take advantage, and with the right spirit, takes advantage of the fact that the white rook is no longer on b7 and cannot take the pawn on a7 yet, and tries to come in with the rook and create some chances of his own for counterplay. But simply the rook just drops back to b7, rook e2, king f3. I mean, there's so many ways to win here. It's just such a winning position, but playing it safe, king to f3, and now rook to e7. Here, we don't want to trade, but also black cannot trade, because after the pawn takes on b7, we simply make a pawn on the next move. So we just continue b4. And our plan is very simple. b5, b6, takes, queen. And here, f5 is played, and there's a couple of ways to win. We can just continue with b5, or nice and simply, we can trade b5 here, and then if this pawn takes, we advance the a pawn. If king to c8, we simply take here, and black cannot prevent these pawns from queening. And even if black could capture these pawns, this king is just going to gobble up these 3 pawns and win anyway. So there we go. If we go back to that starting position just very quickly, where is the position? Here we go. A lot of us can analyze a middle game and think, oh, by the time we make a bunch of trades and it's this, you know, take this piece, take that piece, or take, as Hikaru says, we might think, you know, it's just going to be an equal position. But if we look a little bit further, we kind of see that it's actually a technically winning game for white. Or even if it's an equal position according to the engine, let's say, white is the only one pressuring in this position. So let's just go back a little bit. Let's go back to this position here. Actually, let's go forward a couple more moves. We will go to this position. Here it is white to play. And this is where this kind of a position is quite common in a lot of games. You've got a pawn on c6, pawn on e6, and white, on the other hand, has a pawn on d4 and e4. And sometimes white has the connect 3 with the pawn on c4. And the key thing here is white can claim a space advantage in the center. But the thing is, how do you turn this space advantage into a win? And in this case, white has doubled rooks already. White's got a pretty loose pawn, and you know, you wouldn't really blame white for wanting to move the rook back to a1 just to protect that pawn, but that's quite passive, and it's just an equal position right there. So in this position, white has a very classic break, and this is where it looks like a draw, but you've got to be really careful, because how we saw, you can lose the game quite quickly. If as black you allow this break, d5, you got to be really careful. So here, d5, as black, you might be thinking, after I take with the knight, my goodness, how good is this for me? I'm trading my pieces. White no longer has a strong pawn center, and to win the pawn back, white needs to give me his strong light squared bishop. And I'm just going to trade rooks on the d file, and that's it. But that's how quickly something that looks like an equal position can end up disastrous. So you've got to be really careful and understand, both as black and as white in this position, because you never want to be on the receiving end. You want to think, where can I enter my opponent's position, or where can my opponent enter my position? And then which pieces need to be traded in what sequence to enable me to enter my opponent's position. In this case, it's just the queens. And then the last thing is, once your opponent is tied down, like we saw a few moves after this, let's just go to that position. Once the opponent is tied down, we can enter with our king and finish the game off. So hope you guys enjoyed that video. It covered a pretty abstract topic, so I'd be interested to hear in the comments what you guys thought of it, but it's a pretty advanced topic that we're covering. It's probably 1800 ELO rating and above, but for anyone who wants to improve their chess, this is the way to think. This is the kind of stuff you guys need to know about, and I think that's my job, trying to teach you guys as much as I can with my experience. So hope you guys enjoyed that. Check out the next video that pops up on your screen. It's probably going to be a good one. Maybe not. See how you like it, and catch you guys later. Peace out.